you all to join me in welcoming Kirk to the podium.
Thanks very much, and thanks for having me here today. It's definitely a pleasure. As I was preparing for this talk and read the intro, I looked and I said, wait a minute, am I an expert in that? Like, do I deserve to kind of do this? I think, no, I'm not a scientist in this space. I'm not going to kind of present a lot of facts and figures today, but I will just try to share with you the experience that I've had in using sport for social development, using sport for education, and particularly in my case for improving health outcomes in young people. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my own personal experience. I'm going to talk a little bit about Grassroot Soccer, which I know quite a bit about. And I'm going to try and share with you some of the other stories of other organizations and things that I've seen in the field that are really using sport to change the world. Like everyone in sport for development, I'm starting off with this quote here from this guy, Nelson Mandela. And I think it says so much and has become the mantra of sport these days. But what does he know? But I think it does say a lot. I think this power to inspire, power to unite, and power to create hope in particular, are really, say a lot about what sport can do. Just to give you a little background on who I am and my experience. When I finished university, I didn't want to hang up the soccer shoes and give it all up. So I decided I wanted to use soccer as a way to see the world and experience new cultures. So right there, we can tick that up as one of the potential powers of sport. And I moved to Zimbabwe in 1998 to play professional soccer there, and joined and played in the professional league. This is my old team, Highlanders. You can see we're in front of a crowd of about 50,000 people, something that you don't easily get to do here in the U.S. And I got a chance to be part of this amazing community with some of the nicest people on earth and actually really experience a different culture. While I was there, it was sort of the heart of the HIV epidemic was hitting in Southern Africa. Estimates are around 30% of adults at that time were HIV positive. I was losing friends, I was losing teammates to AIDS, and it had a really powerful effect on me. But I also felt quite helpless, sort of in terms of what I could do about it. A few years later, after I had left Zimbabwe and was back in the U.S., a former teammate sent me an idea for, hey, why don't we go back to Zimbabwe and train some of our teammates to teach young people about HIV and AIDS. We got a group of us together. One of them's right here now, Ethan, he had just won Survivor, popular TV show, for those who don't know it. And we started a nonprofit organization that was designed to use soccer to fight HIV and AIDS. That was 2002. Since then, we've had over nearly 2 million young people go through our educational programs in over 50 countries. We've expanded outside of just HIV and AIDS to kind of a broader adolescent health focus, but still very much, largely focused on HIV and AIDS. But the idea is that we train young people, we train role models from the community to go into schools, to go to soccer fields, to work with soccer teams, basically wherever young people are, and we teach them about HIV prevention, about sexual health, about life skills, about malaria prevention, any number of different issues that are facing adolescents in society. I love this photo because I think it speaks to what Grassroot Soccer is all about. That guy kneeling down in front of that group of school children, mostly girls, he's just run an activity. He's having a conversation with the young people about what they just learned. And he's the captain of the national soccer team for Zimbabwe. You know, he is someone who they see on TV, who they read about in the newspaper, and he's humbling himself and sitting below them, you know. And this is, to me, you know, the essence of the work that we do. It's about, you know, taking people who can make a profound impact on young people's lives and creating that conversation. You know, talking about what we've tried to achieve, what are the outcomes that we've really tried to focus on with our organization has been, you know, largely about improving knowledge. So when we started Grassroot Soccer, that was a huge issue. Young people just didn't have the basic information about sexual health. They didn't know about HIV transmission largely. A lot of that's changed over the years, but there's still really key gaps in knowledge. The other is reducing stigma. So getting people talking, you know, bringing this out from underneath as an issue. One of the things, my experience as a player, the friends I lost, no one would ever mention that they died of AIDS. You know, it was too much of a hush thing. Here, I mean, you've got 30% of the population infected, the adult population infected, and people just won't admit that anyone died of AIDS. You know, I mean, so that's been a huge area that we've tried to focus on. Increasing access to health services. So one of the things we do is we run soccer tournaments where we are bringing things like HIV testing to the pitch. We're bringing malaria testing to the pitch. And we're getting young people to access services that otherwise they have a hard time getting to. Promoting healthy gender norms. This is a huge issue. The link between gender and HIV and AIDS is a big issue. Getting girls playing soccer right there challenges gender norms in these communities where girls aren't traditionally allowed to play sports or aren't seen as playing sports. Providing access, especially for girls. And then the last piece, which to me is, again, what I feel like Grassroots Soccer is really most focused on, and to me is one of the largest powers that sport has, is around building caring adult relationships. You know, we did a big study around building resiliency in young people and whether our program is able to do that. And the number one protective factor for young people was having a caring adult relationship. And what we wanted to see is, are we able to create that with our programs, with our interventions? And we were. So the formula for Grassroots Soccer is bringing these role models, bringing in an activity-based curriculum, so really getting young people moving and learning through movement, and then bringing in soccer. And we bring in soccer both through, you know, playing, you know, the teams and leagues and setting up these kind of things, but also just through the messaging that we bring it. There's a lot of metaphors about soccer. There's a lot about building your team and a lot of things about, you know, protecting yourself the way you protect the goal, you know, these kind of things. It's just a language that young people understand. And, you know, we chose soccer because it is the most popular sport in the world. It's a powerful tool in the communities where we worked and lived, and we knew that, and we knew that there were role models from the game that we had access to. But it could be any sport. You know, I'll talk a little bit later about some of the great programs that are using other sports out there. But you know, for us it was soccer. That was what we knew. Is anybody up for playing one of the games? I think what we can do is do a demonstration group. So I feel like it's, you know, it's one thing to talk about the activities that we do in the curriculum. It's another to experience them. So why don't we just, let's do one of the activities right here in front of the room, and then it'll make it a little bit more fun. Sound okay? Yeah. Give me 10 volunteers who don't mind catching and throwing and moving their feet a little bit. Just stand right up and come on up to the front. So we, can you all hear me okay if I don't mic up? Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. So our curriculum it's called the skills curriculum. All right, so we're trying to build life skills basically, so we call it the skills curriculum. But it's basically between 10 and 20 sessions that we go through with young people to teach them through a series of different fun games and activities to teach them different life skills related to HIV and AIDS, related to malaria prevention, related to any number of different things that we determine. This is one of the activities. It's called Juggling My Life. Okay, so we're going to basically, as a group, juggle our lives and work together as a team to do so. Okay? We'll see how this works. Let's make a circle here. Ethan, why don't you hold the balls? Game leader. All right, I will water. So I need everyone to put their hands up in the air just like this. We are going to pass the balls around the circle one at a time. You will always throw to the same person and receive the ball from the same person. Okay, so the first time we put our hands up in the air, just so we know who hasn't received the ball yet. Got it? Everybody clear? So Ethan's going to throw to somebody, that person's going to throw to the next person who has their hands up. Once there's nobody with hands up, it goes back to Ethan. Okay? Go ahead. Once you throw, put your hands down. All right, does everybody remember who threw them the ball? And who they throw to? Good, all right, you're ahead of the game already. Let's do it one more time, a quick one. You know what, guys? What happened there? You dropped the ball, right? What'd you do when you dropped it? You went and
Reach for it.
picked it up and played again, right?
Right.
In life, do we sometimes make mistakes?
Yes.
What do we do when we make a mistake? Correct it, pick yourself up, and play again, okay? Just want to make that point. Okay, so this game is called, what was it called again? Juggling My Life. Okay, so this game's about life. So we're going to talk about these balls and what they represent. We're going to give each ball a name, okay? Let's say the first ball, something important in our lives. Anybody? Family. Great, that's a family ball. Let's do the family ball. Oh, and by the way, we're going to have fun and be active. So let's at least move our feet, all right?
Good job.
All right, great. What's another piece of our life? What's another important thing in our lives?
Friends.
Friends. Great. Friend ball.
Family.
We got
Friends.
Family ball, friend ball.
Here we go.
Keep
Here's
moving.
friends.
Okay, great, great. Family, friends, health? Great. Okay, our health.
Here we go. Family.
Here we go, we're moving.
Friends. Health.
Okay, stop. Oh, hang on one second. I got an idea. What's one way we might be able to make this so we don't make mistakes? What's one thing we could possibly do to make it a little easier? Call out the name. What would that be an example of? Communication, another life skill that we can learn, right? Let's make life a little bit easier on ourselves and communicate well. Say the person's name as you throw them the ball so they know it's coming, okay? There you go. Go ahead. Let's see if life flows a little better with better communication.
Allison.
Do it.
Eileen. Mary.
Do it.
Allison.
Eileen.
Casey.
Ethan.
Allison.
All right, Ethan. All right, let's add some things.
School.
School. Good.
School. Akimi. Health.
Mary.
Do it.
Family.
Mary.
Casey.
Do it.
Akimi.
Mary.
Allison.
Do it.
Mary.
Allison.
Do it. Don't forget to pick the ball up and play again if you drop it. Don't forget, we got to keep going. All right.
Allison. Casey.
Eileen. Ethan.
Allison.
Eileen. Ethan.
All right, we got a lot of pieces of our lives going here, right? We've already learned some skills, right? We got to pick it up and play again. That's called being resilient. Okay? We learn from our mistakes and we keep playing. All right? We communicate. That helps us do a much better job keeping all these balls in the air, right? Now, we got a few balls going. You got to pretend that you are 13-year-old boys and girls in Southern Africa, and you are feeling a lot of pressure to add a new ball to your life, and that is the sex ball. Actually, I'm going to take this one off. We've got a sex ball here, okay? We're going to see what happens when we add the sex ball to our lives, okay? Because this is an activity to learn about.
All right, here we go.
HIV and sexual health.
Keeping health. Friends. You didn't have sex yet, Lauren.
Don't be afraid of the sex ball. Don't be afraid of the sex ball.
Allison.
Barry, thanks. Eileen. Ethan.
Uh-oh, here comes
Barry.
sex. Allison, here we go.
Barry. Ethan.
Allison.
Ethan.
Barry.
Dewey.
Barry. I mean, there's one. Barry. Barry. Ethan.
Okay, and stop. And stop.
Oh, Allison, knew you would get the sex ball.
So, all right. One thing I didn't tell you. Every time you made a mistake with a sex ball, I added another ball. I added 3 balls. One was HIV and AIDS. One was teenage pregnancy. And one was sexually transmitted infections. Okay? Why would I add that ball? Why would I add those balls to this mix?
Because they go with that.
They add more complications.
It came along with this. So every time you made a mistake with this ball, I added one of those balls. Okay? This ball is the one that you need to think about when you're ready to add this to your life, right? This is not a small decision to add to your life. This is a big one. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And these extra balls, they're called consequences, right? When it's time to start taking risks with this ball, then you got to be ready for the consequences. Okay? Anyway, good
Nice.
job. Good game, everybody. So that was a modified version of that game delivered by a very poorly trained grassroots soccer coach. And that would be usually, we'd spend about 30, 45 minutes on that activity and really start to then get into talking about consequences, talking about the life skills that we learn through that kind of activity. But the idea that I wanted to show is that, you can be active and learn and have fun and learn, and young people love it. I mean, they're laughing, they're playing, they're enjoying, and they're also getting these really important discussion topics introduced to them at the same time. And that's what our curriculum is about, and that's what so many organizations that use sport for social development really try to do. I talked about from my point of view, the importance of role models. So grassroots soccer coaches, we now have thousands of them all over the world that we've trained. We started just training professional players from our previous teams and things. We realized we couldn't take that model and do it everywhere in the world. But what we found was that if there's one thing that there's no shortage of, it's 18 to 25-year-olds that are unemployed and looking for any kind of opportunity in the communities where we work. And we realized that our coaches, are the people who are delivering our curriculum in schools, could be anybody, and that this demographic, which is having so many challenges, is perfect. They're there in the community, they know these young people, they're looking for an opportunity to do work. So we started training them. And we've just found that it is the core and the essence of the work that we do, is the relationships that we can build between young people and their coaches. The other thing is we do still use the professional players, and it is a key part of what we do, both local and international stars. This is a nice example. This is a campaign that we were doing to get promote voluntary medical male circumcision in Zimbabwe. So we had, one of the national team players who was one of our coaches, who also went and got circumcised and, spoke about his experience, as well as an international star who plays for Arsenal in the UK, who's a very well-known player, who also was willing to say, I've been circumcised and promote the procedure. Reason for, by the way, promoting circumcision is because for a male, you're 60% less likely to get HIV if you're circumcised. So it's a big movement to circumcise as many young men as you can. And it's a big challenge, obviously, to get young men to go in and get their foreskin cut off. So you need to think about how you're going to create that kind of demand for services. As I said, the activity-based learning is really key to the model. It's a big part of what we feel is key to using sport. Ideally, activities like this really help hammer home the message. It becomes much less about sitting and learning in a classroom and memorizing what the teacher tells you. When it comes to sexual health, you need to feel it, you need to experience it, you need to discuss it, you need to have honest conversations, and we're trying to create that environment through the activities that we deliver. So the question is it working? We're trying to figure that out every day. We've now conducted 19 research studies in 8 countries, including several randomized control trial studies. And we're finding that, it is working. We still have a lot to learn, and we still have a long way to go in terms of, really proving the value of sport. But some of the big things we're learning, obviously we can improve knowledge and attitudes of young people in our programs. We're empowering girls. We're helping them increase their uptake of, particularly of sexual reproductive health services, but through the programs that we deliver with girls. Over 70% of the participants in our program test for HIV, which is a major jump from the typical adolescents in the communities where we work. There just very few adolescents are being tested. Increasing resiliency skills. As I said, we did some research around building resiliency skills and a whole host of factors that related to resiliency, and we found that there was a significant increase in that area. The VMMC services, we've seen a nine times more young people uptaking VMMC services who've gone through our 90-minute intervention delivered by a circumcised coach. So that was also really major finding. We've had a study in South Africa with young men looking at their high-risk behaviors, in particular around drug and alcohol use. So we set up a league in South Africa where the points in your league were tied to also getting drug tested. So you can get points for your team by winning games and attending sessions. But also you would have to get drug tested once a month. And this was with former prisoners, all who had tested positive for drug use, and we had 100% reduction in drug use. So not a single player in the league tested positive for drugs after entering into the intervention. So we've had some amazing results. The other thing is we've focused quite a bit on our coaches and how has this been transformational for them? As I said, they're unemployed young people, mostly finished high school but don't have anywhere to go after that. And we found over 80% after 2 years working with Grassroot Soccer as a coach were able to enter into employment or further education. Which is a massive leap from the communities where we work, which have over 80% unemployment, especially for that demographic. So it's, we're seeing really encouraging results with the program, and it's exciting to see. Again, we have a long way to go to be able to really tell and to distill down what are the key components of this work, and what is it about sport, and what is it about our interventions that are really making the difference. The testing and the health services piece is particularly, I'd say, one of the biggest focuses for us now. With HIV being very different than it was when we started in 2002. Now if you get tested and you test HIV positive and you get put on treatment, you can live really indefinitely. And so a big part of what we focus on is HIV testing and is creating linkages to care and ensuring that we provide support to young people over time if they test positive. So that's a big part of what we do. I just wanted to make sure I leave some time to talk about some of the other organizations that we've seen, because this is really about the power of sport generally, not just about Grassroot Soccer, but just some really interesting examples of the field that and we've got a true expert in this space here today, Eli. So if we have questions, he can help me answer some. But I just wanted to bring up some of these because there's some great examples. Of how sport is being used to change the world and for educational reasons. We've largely focused on health. Paris Center for Peace in Israel is bringing together Israeli and Palestinian young people and having them play in soccer leagues and teams and jointly, and it's really focused on bringing cultural, two different very difficult cultures together, cultures that are having a lot of challenges together, and discussing peace. There's two organizations that I've come across recently working in South Africa that I thought were a really interesting model. As I said, we've focused on soccer because it's everywhere. Everybody knows it. It's everybody knows the celebrities in this space. But two organizations that are doing the opposite. They're taking sports that are less accessible to young people and people are less familiar with and bringing them to them and really using that as a way to draw in young people. So Skateistan was started in Afghanistan and has now expanded around the world. It's a skateboarding program. Amazing images of young girls in Afghanistan with their burqas on doing ollies over, off of big ramps and things like that. I mean, it's truly amazing to watch that transformation. Waves for Change is an organization we worked with quite a bit in Cape Town as well that is using surfing, helping young people who grow up in these communities right on the beach but never ever enter the water, helping them. And I think the thing for me that's really exciting about those programs is the way that the learning is. Those sports are so much about learning tricks. Like at each level you master a new skill and you get to that next level and then you get to the next level. And there's so much that can be drawn about how young people learn in life and how they build their confidence over time through that kind of ongoing reinforcement of, hey, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. So I feel like there's a lot of organizations that have really done a great job of doing that kind of thing. Aganar is a program that's all over Central and South America, focusing on youth employability. So they bring young people in through soccer leagues, and then over a 2-year period, they learn skills to basically gain employment skills, and they've had incredible results of moving young people onto employment. Street League in the UK is a very similar model, but they're working primarily with homeless young men, bringing them in through leagues and then also providing job skill training to get them back on their feet and back into the workforce. Up to Us is a great organization in the U.S. that is focused largely on taking those coaches in the community, so community-based coaches, and helping them kind of go that next level. Get to that next level. So you're not just bringing your team together and teaching them how to dribble through cones and shoot a goal, but you're also looking for all those coachable moments, all those little tricks in the activity where you can draw out learning outcomes and where you can relate to lives and where you can be a role model for a young person in their lives. And so I think that's, as I said, to me that's a really key component of the power of sport. And anything we can do to kind of harness that piece of it, I think can be really powerful. Special Olympics, I'm sure everyone has heard of Special Olympics. Fantastic organization, huge global footprint. And they, I think began very much with an advocacy focus. So really getting young people with intellectual disabilities involved in sport in order to raise awareness for young people with intellectual disabilities and getting people to understand that, what they're capable of and break the stigma. And they've also gone to a new level with their programming, really now focusing a lot more on those young people and the health that they can get by bringing them together through the different events and activities that they run. They're now providing a lot of health and educational opportunities for them as well. But truly an amazing organization and one that we partner with quite a lot. And then just at the end, there are 3 kind of offshoots of Grassroot Soccer that have been created. I was just in Cape Town a few weeks ago, and I saw this women's soccer team that was created in Khayelitsha. Khayelitsha is South Africa's second largest township. They estimate about 1 million people there. They have never had an organized women's soccer club in Khayelitsha. To me, that's just amazing. There's soccer being played everywhere, but no one's ever taken the time to organize a soccer team. And a few years ago, some Grassroot Soccer coaches and interns started a team called RV United. And I watched them win the Coca-Cola championship when I was in Cape Town. And it was incredibly moving to see these young women and see like the transformation that they've gone through. And I'll show a little video here at the end of one of the players from that team. But it's just, sometimes just creating a team can do so much. Ragdoll is, one of the things that supports this team is that they create rag balls. These are the typical soccer player that's used, soccer ball that's used on the streets in any African country is usually made through plastic bags, socks, any number of materials that get rolled up into a ball and created. We created this thing called rag ball. These are plastic bags covered by a fruit bag, and then woven T-shirts that they get from a local factory. As they get all the throwouts from a local factory, and they've created these woven T-shirts, and they make these really pretty, colorful balls, and they sell them all over the world. You can buy them online now here in the U.S. And this is how they support the soccer club. This is where they make the money, and they learn their skills around how to save, how to invest. There's a whole curriculum around ragball just linked to this. And I think it's an amazing story of sort of ingenuity and how you can work together to kind of get to where you're trying to go. And it's using sport to change the world. Grassroot Project is a great organization in the DC area. One of our former interns came back to the U.S. and decided he wanted to start something in the U.S. So he's trained college athletes from the Washington, D.C. area to go into schools and teach young people a similar curriculum to Grassroot Soccer, and they're doing HIV, sexual health work in the D.C. metro area. And again, using who are the local role models. You've got American University, Georgetown, George Washington, all these great schools with great athletes with time on their hands, and they're now going into schools in DC and delivering these programs. So great example, I think, of sport being used to change the world. I want to make sure I leave time for questions, but I also want to get through these next couple things. So just trying to with this talk in mind, I was trying to distill down some of the key elements of, using sport for social change, and what are the pieces that I feel like are most important. And as I said, this role models, caring adult relationship is so important. I think the sense of team is also really important, and the power of that message that you can work together to achieve things, and that you're not all alone. One of the big things in our curriculum that we focus on is building your support team. So where do you go for help? Helping you recognize who is your support network and where can you go? Because so often young people are unaware of all the things all the support that they have around them. This idea, like I said, of skill building and mastery, helping young people learn new skills and see that they are able to accomplish them is going to help them with their self-esteem, their self-confidence, and their self-efficacy around issues of sexual health, for example. Obviously, physical activity is very important in this world. It's something that is slowly diminishing, actually fairly rapidly diminishing. Nike did a big study and basically has determined that this generation of young people, of children, is going to be the first generation to live shorter lives than the previous generation. And this is largely due to physical inactivity. This is largely due to our bodies becoming weaker and weaker because of the changing world that we're in. And I think anything that gets young people physically active is valuable for health and for education. Obviously, one of the key things that we're learning through playing sports is this kind of sense of sportsmanship and fair play. You know, winning and losing, and this is a key message in any development program that uses sports, is that, it's really focused on fair play. You see a lot of organizations even kind of changing the rules of sports to try to make it more focused on fair play, so they'll get rid of the referees, and now there's no referees. You call your own fouls, and you actually, if there's a challenge, you need to sit as a team and discuss and decide what we're going to do. These kind of things where you get a chance to really focus on that key component of discussion of fair play. So that's what I've seen. And then I just wanted to also share my own, because as I was thinking about this presentation, I thought a lot about my own personal experience with sport and what were the pieces for me that were most powerful. So I'm a soccer and former soccer player turned into a surfer. And I thought back, I guess the first thing was I thought back to any goal that I've ever scored, which to me was, these are the highlights that you can think back and remember, what did I do as a sports person? And for every goal I ever scored, or every time that I ever did anything really good on the soccer field, I think my head was completely empty at that time. My thinking was totally clear. And to me, that is an extremely powerful thing to experience that, even if it's just for a flash. You have Zen monks that spend their whole lives trying to get to that point and just meditating to try and get to that point. And I think, to me, one of the major powers of sport has been that flash of freedom and emptiness of the mind. When I think about surfing, every wave I've ever caught, I get scared. Right before I take that wave, I'm scared. No matter how little or how big it is, there's a moment of total fear. But then you keep going and you get past that, and then you get to experience surfing a wave, which is easily the best feeling in the world. And I think that, for me, with sports is another key thing. You have to overcome fear constantly. You have to just push past it. The best learning that I've had in my life has come when I've sort of humbled myself to the point of saying to a coach, I want you to teach me something. And when those coaches knew well enough to see that as an opportunity to teach me much more than just some sports skill, So every coach has had the biggest impact on me in my life, in terms of really educating me about the value and the important things in life. And those coaches that really were fantastic figured out that it was much more than just about sports. And they took the time and they saw that opportunity. And they saw my humility and said, I can work with this kid, And then finally, of course, it's the power of teammates and the network of friends that I've created. Ethan here is one of my closest friends on earth, and he's a former teammate. And, these are the people that I would do anything for and that have helped me through the hardest times. And I'll always go back to them when I need support. And I think that piece as well is just so powerful for a young person to know that you have that network and to create that network of support. So for me, those are the personal things. I'm just gonna try this, clicking on a little video here.
I live in Kailicha. It is hard, especially as a young girl. Being a lesbian has made it even harder, and sometimes I thought I wouldn't make it. But football gave me hope. Now I can teach and I can learn. And when I'm on the field, I am free. I can show the world who I really am, all because of this beautiful game. My name is Atipila Sidondi, and I am a footballer.
That's Ati. She plays for RV United in Kailicha. And I just wanted to share that story because I think she's one of those young people who sport has really changed her life. You know, I watched her win this Coca-Cola tournament a few weeks ago, and you can just see the confidence that she exudes and that her whole team exudes as a result, and the way that they've gone from being fairly invisible people in the community to being local superstars, you know, and it's really is amazing.